Hey guys, how is everybody doing? The month of May of 2025 is very much behind us. I'm very late with this video. I'm very late with a lot of videos. But today I'm going to be giving you my ranking of all 5 movies that I watched during the month of May 2025. And before I really get into this video or really start talking about any of these movies that I watched, I kind of wanted to give a little update about why I haven't been posting much because I looked at what the last time I posted. I posted over a month ago. The last video I posted was the episode 6 review of The Last of Us season 2, which I also did not put out a video for the season finale of that, which again I'll get into. But I haven't really been posting much because not that I'm bored of making videos or anything like that. Like I'm not like out of that habit of making these videos. Like I love making these videos and stuff. Like I love making these. But it was more that I kind of quit making videos because I kind of felt for a while that I wasn't doing this as a hobby anymore. Like this is a hobby of mine. I love doing this as a hobby. Like there are a lot of other people out on YouTube that do this as a full-time job and they get paid for it, which maybe and hopefully I can do that as well, but only time will tell. But as of right now, I only do this as a hobby and I love doing this as a hobby. But when I was trying to post, when I was like posting like my Final Destination reviews and posting like just other videos, and I literally made a whole schedule of how much I was going to be posting over the month of May, this month, and next month, which I'm very far behind on all of that, of that reason, which I just felt like I wasn't doing this as a hobby anymore, and I felt like I was just making these videos because I felt like I needed to, and I felt like I had to. Like it wasn't like a want or anything like that. Like, I want to make these videos, but the last few weeks where I tried to make videos, I felt like I needed to. But another part of that was just time, because at the time where I was trying to post constantly, I was coming to the end of my freshman year in high school to where I was focused on that, and I was focused on a lot of other things, where a lot of other things were going on in my life, which I had finals to worry about. I was more focused on that. I just had a lot going on. I also the start of my summer, which I'm out of school now, which obviously, it's the middle of June, so I would hope that a lot of us are out of school right now. I'm also taking a driver's ed and stuff like that. I'm doing that. I have a job as well that I work at after that, to where I don't get home till like 4:30, and by all of that, I'm just beat and I'm tired, to where I don't feel like making videos because I'm so tired and I'm just after just a long day and because of time, I just don't feel like I had the energy to do that. But now that I'm in the middle of June, and now that I've kind of got all that all out of the way, and kind of all what I want to focus on, like what, and I have dead set of what I want to focus on. I want to make more videos again. I want to do this again. There are a lot of videos that I need to catch up on. I feel like, which again with the need thing. Which this I feel like I do need to because I want to at the same time. Because over the next few days, you're gonna be getting a lot of videos from me because I feel like I need to play catch up. So yeah, and I also and not like anyone needs to know this, but I also have a girlfriend, and I've been wanting to focus on that as well, and I've been wanting to make her a priority, which obviously when you have a girlfriend, you're gonna want to do stuff with them and all that, and hang out with them, which is again with time to where I've been spending time with her and stuff, which again really shouldn't get in the way of this, and I kind of sound like I'm making excuses, but I'm not. That is just where I have been the last month. I haven't been really wanting to because I felt like I wasn't doing this as a hobby anymore. I've just been busy, and time has been a pain in my ass, and then you got that added with it, which I feel bad that I haven't been doing this as much because because I noticed that I gained like 4 subscribers over the last like few days, which I felt was weird because I haven't been posting much, so I don't know where these guys are finding me. But yeah, so that's just where I've been, and that's just a little update of why I haven't been posting much. But I'm gonna try to post a lot more. But that's not a guarantee. Again, time. I'm still doing other things, so if I don't post a lot more, then you know where I am. But I'm going to be start focusing on this again. This is something I want to focus on. This is something that I want to start doing again a lot more because this is something I love doing. I love talking about film. I love talking about the film genre, which I have not done in a long, long time. Like, I have not done this for a while, and I felt like I haven't done this as much as I wanted to this year. Last year and the year before that, I was pushing out videos every single day. That was how dedicated I was to this, and that's how much fun I had making these videos. But like I said, I just felt like I just haven't felt that again. But thankfully, I'm going to try and get that feeling again with this video and the next few videos in the next few days. So for the next few days, you'll be getting a lot more videos from me. And I also need to catch up on my Dexter review series. That is not a thing that I just quit doing. That is just something that I've been focusing on. I literally have the notes for the other 3 seasons, which I'm on season 5 right now. I need to play catch up because that new series comes out in July and it's almost the end of fucking June. So yeah, that is where I've been. This is a very long update. Maybe I should have just made this a separate video, but that's just where I've been. That is what's been going on. So, with that all out of the way, here's my ranking of all 5 movies that I watched during the month of May 2025. But coming in at number 5, my weakest movie of May 2025 that I watched, which for me was pretty easy, and that is Karate Kid Legends. Now, I'm a huge Karate Kid fan. I love that original movie. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't really care about the other ones. I enjoy the other 2 movies in the original trilogy. I do. I'm actually kind of a defender of the third movie, but other than that, the other Karate Kid movies don't really work for me. I have not watched the fourth one. I have not watched the remake since I was like a little kid. My dad yelled at me that was the first Karate Kid movie I watched, excuse me. And I'm also a little bit of a fan of Cobra Kai. I'm not like a massive fan of it, but last year I did binge all of it, so that kind of says something of it. I have not finished it though. I kind of quit watching after season 4. But when they announced this movie, I was a little confused because I did not know what this movie was going to be because they announced that Ralph Macchio was going to be coming back for another Karate Kid movie, which I would hope that Daniel LaRusso is in another Karate Kid movie. And then, but the part of the announcement that a little bit confused me was that Jackie Chan was going to be part of this movie, which I was a little confused by because if you don't know, is that Jackie Chan plays the Mr. Miyagi role in the Karate Kid remake, which is it even a remake at that point when you announce that, when you say that Jackie Chan's going to be in a Karate Kid movie when he was in a remake of it? Does that mean that the remake is basically not a remake anymore? Does that mean that it's just like so it's just the same movie of the original, but just with different just with different castings, which is basically the definition of a fucking remake, and which they don't really care to explain that in this movie. Like they don't really talk about that. They don't bring up anything. It kind of seems like Jackie Chan's the same character from that movie, but again, they don't really do anything with that. But why I don't like this movie is that it does not feel like a Karate Kid movie. Like, you watch the trailers, like, it looks decent. This movie was mismarketed. This was false advertisement by a fucking mile. Because I watched this movie, it is nothing of what the advertisement showed me. Because what this movie really is that it's basically the original Karate Kid again. You basically get this kid who I forget his character's name, but who is a pretty enjoyable lead. I will admit that he is a pretty enjoyable for this movie, and he does a pretty good job leading this movie and being the main character, which I did enjoy him. I really enjoyed his character. So no disrespect to that character or his actor, and the actor did a pretty good job. But what you get is that this kid, he moves to New York, and his mom is like, hey, he gets a new job in New York, or gets his new position at the hospital or whatever. So they move to New York, which sounds familiar. I wonder where that could have happened. And then just looks around New York, and then he gets involved with this girl, gets involved with a girl, and then basically the ex-boyfriend gets jealous. Ex-boyfriend gets jealous again. Huh, wonder where I could have seen this before. And then the bullies go after him and he gets fight, and then he gets involved with her and her dad at the pizza place that they own, and then all of a sudden it turns into a non-Karate Kid movie, and then turns into the kid teaching the dad, who's a boxer, a retired boxer, who used to be a pretty good boxer apparently, who trains the boxer into learning how to fight like in kung fu and boxing. Wait, what? You're meaning to tell me that a kid is going to teach a boxer how to fight? Okay, I guess we can do a reverse Karate Kid thing where the kid's now the teacher or whatever. But then that becomes like the majority of this fucking movie. Like, that's what this movie is for the majority of it. It's just the kid teaching the boxer how to fight with kung fu fighting maneuvers, but in boxing form, which well, I don't think you can do kung fu in fucking boxing. But then that whole thing happens, and then all of a sudden it turns back into a Karate Kid movie, and then it turns back to the whole subplot of like the kid being bullied, and then they have to go to this tournament, which again, tournament to fight the bully. I wonder where I could have seen that again. And then he gets trained by Jackie Chan, who flew all the way from Japan or whatever to go to New York and to train him, and then he goes and finds Daniel LaRusso, and then Daniel LaRusso helps train him, which that those moments where it's Jackie Chan and Daniel LaRusso teaching the kid how to fight again and learning and teaching him new maneuvers for this tournament thing or whatever, that's pretty enjoyable and it's cool to see those two in a Karate Kid movie together. Like it's fun. But I've seen this movie before. I have like the majority where it's trying to be a Karate Kid movie, it's just the same thing as the original. So if you saw the trailers and you thought it looked mildly interesting, you're being false advertised. Just go watch the original because basically what this movie is, there's a hair on my arm. And basically what this movie is, and it doesn't even feel like it was meant to be a Karate Kid movie. It honestly feels like Sony saw the success and how popular Karate Kid was becoming again because of Cobra Kai, to where they rushed a script or they just picked up a random script. It kind of feels like this movie was meant to be a boxing movie, something like Rocky, but not exactly like Rocky. It kind of feels like they just found like they just found an old boxing script, fixed a few things and added a few things to it, and then they just got they got Ralph Macchio and Jackie Chan to be part of this movie somehow, and then they just slapped a recognizable title on it and released it into theaters hoping to make a profit out of it. That's all this movie is. And like, is it one of the worst Karate Kid movies of all time? I don't know. I haven't seen all of them, so probably maybe. But is this one of the worst movies of the year? Maybe. We'll see how the rest of this year goes. But just looking at this movie, it is so disappointing of what this movie could have been. When you get Jackie Chan and Ralph Macchio to do a Karate Kid movie together, and then you just end up giving me something like this, it's very disappointing. Coming in at number four is going to be Final Destination Bloodlines, which I should have talked about this movie earlier this year when I did my Final Destination review series, which I didn't even finish. If I'm being like, I did not even finish that. So you're going to get my thoughts here. But Final Destination Bloodlines, this is a movie that I wasn't really overly looking forward to because, like, the fact that they were gonna make another Final Destination movie, years later after, like, the 5th one came out, like, over a decade ago, I didn't really have a lot of faith in this movie, and this movie took forever to get made. This movie really did take forever to get made, it felt like, because I felt like they announced it, like, 5 years ago, but then COVID happened and then basically fucked up this whole movie, and I remember when they announced it, I was like, "Cool, let's see what that happens," and then just, like, nothing seemed to have been moving, nothing seemed to have been nothing had to seem to be happening or whatever. But then we finally got this movie, which again, I wasn't really looking forward to it. I'm not the biggest Final Destination fan either, so that probably should have said a lot when I went in to this movie. Like, I did not have the biggest expectations for this movie. If I'm being honest, the only one of Final Destination movies that I actually like are probably the first movie and the third movie. Anything besides that, I could give or take. Like, I can honestly live without them. Like, I can honestly live without this franchise. But honestly, I really enjoyed Final Destination Bloodlines. And why I like this movie is that it's different from the other Final Destination movies. Because in the other movies, it's like, oh, this person has a premonition. Like, on the first movie, it's like he has a premonition that the plane is going to explode. He freaks out. He gets kicked off, and a whole bunch of other people get off the plane. And then the plane ends up exploding. But then when they think they escaped, death slowly comes to kill them one by one and making it look like an accident. That is basically every single Final Destination movie. You get a character, they see how they're going to die, they avoid death, but then slowly throughout the movie, they're going to die one by one. What this movie does is something different, but at the same time, it sticks to that formula. And it has that formula, but how this movie starts is with a flashback to the main character's grandma, I believe, where we see that whole thing. She survived, and she basically became a survival weirdo or whatever, basically sheltered herself from life and basically never let her kids go outside, basically. So that and then it kind of has that, and to where since she survived and since so many other people survived that accident in the opening, which is like a skyscraper or whatever, which is really cool. It was a great opening. And since they all survived and went on to have kids and other relatives, like they had kids, they had ended up also having grandkids, maybe. Like they basically created a whole bloodline that was never meant to happen. And so instead of going and not only is death going after the people that survived, it's going after their families because they were never meant to exist. I really loved that about this movie, and I really enjoyed that about this movie. And another thing that I really like about this movie is that this is probably the most violent Final Destination movie. Like, if I'm being honest, this is probably the most violent Final Destination movie there is, and that is a huge positive because this movie is violent. I'm pretty sure the one that I said was the most violent was probably the third movie or the second movie. Those two movies are pretty violent, but this one is probably the best one out of that. And just another thing that I liked, and it's a small thing, and that is that this movie was Tony Todd's final role, which, if you do not know, if you don't know, if you've been basically living under a rock, Tony Todd passed away last November due to cancer, and you can definitely see that when you see him come into this movie. You can definitely see the cancer was slowly eating away at him because he's a lot skinnier in this movie, and he's a lot more bony, if that makes sense. So when you see that, and I'm not afraid to admit, I almost shed a tear when he said his last line because it's become a well known thing on Twitter now is that Tony Todd's final line in this movie, like his final line of dialogue in this movie, was not scripted, and he just came up with that on the spot where he basically said, "I'm going to enjoy the time I have left, and you should too as well. Death is a very scary thing because you'll never know when it's going to come for you. I'm going to enjoy the time I have left. Good luck." That's basically what he says. I almost shed a tear because that was not his character talking. That was Tony Todd talking. And that just absolutely almost broke me. But at the same time, this movie does still have that same formula of Final Destination where it's a little repetitive. But out of all of them, this is one of the better ones, if I'm being honest. Like, I would probably honestly rewatch this out of all of the movies. Like, I would not be surprised if they come out with a seventh movie and I rewatch all these movies, is that if this were my favorite one. Because, honestly, it's pretty good. Coming in at number three is another movie that really surprised me this year because I did not really expect to enjoy this movie, and that is the live action remake of Lilo and Stitch. Now, I am a huge fan of the original animated movie. That movie I have a shit ton of nostalgia for because I grew up with that movie and the second film, which Lilo and Stitch is one of my favorite animated movies of all time. That could honestly, if I were to make a list of some of my favorite movies of all time, that would probably make that kind of list because I love that movie to death. That is one of my favorite movies of all time. I literally went when I went to Disney World when I was a kid. I bought a life-size Stitch. It's somewhere in this room. My room is very messy. I'm not going to get up and go look for it right now. But when they announced this movie, I was very skeptical because I really hate this trend that Disney has going on with live action remakes. And DreamWorks, they seem to just be copying because they just released a remake of How to Train Your Dragon. I haven't seen that yet. I'm going too soon. Stop yelling at me. I'm busy. But I hate the trend that we've been getting of live action remakes of old Disney movies. I can understand why they might make some of them, like Jungle Book, maybe Aladdin, Snow White. Like, there are some moments where I'm like, okay, maybe, that could probably work. I would like to see that in live action. But Lilo and Stitch is like, how important that movie is to me, I was just on the fence about this. But thankfully, I really enjoyed Lilo and Stitch, which there are moments to where it's just like, okay, like, you just can't outdo the original when you watch this movie. Like with Jumba. I hated what they did with Jumba in this movie. They ruined my boy. Like, you really gonna get the guy from The Hangover to play that fucker? Like, are you serious? Like, him? You could have casted anybody in the world, and you choose him. And you're gonna make him the main villain. Makes no sense to me. But honestly, I really enjoyed Lilo and Stitch. Stitch was cute. I thought he was great to see him in live action, which I don't really know what you really expect from this kind of movie, but I really enjoyed it. Your kids are definitely going to enjoy this movie. If you haven't taken your kids to go watch this, I honestly would recommend that you do that because I really enjoyed this movie and I honestly think it was a fun family movie because I went with my mom and my little sister to go watch this movie and we all had a great time watching this movie. I really enjoyed this movie to where I was like, okay, kind of surprised that I enjoyed this movie as much as I did. But yeah, I really enjoyed the remake of Lilo and Stitch. It's definitely better than the other live action remake, Disney remake that we got this year. They know what I'm talking about. Coming in at number two is a movie that I'm kind of a little bit disappointed in, and this was my most anticipated movie of the year, and it's kind of disappointing that I didn't love it as like I wanted to, and that is Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning. Now, I'm not saying this movie is bad by any means. I thought this movie was good. I thought this was a good Mission Impossible movie. But where it disappoints me is the story. Now, sure, maybe the Mission Impossible movies haven't had the greatest stories in the world. The first movie is more of a revenge film because after what happened to Ethan's team, he tries to figure out what's going on. I can't really tell you anything about the second movie. I don't really remember the second movie. The third movie it was really good with its story, but but what my point is that Dead Reckoning's story was so good and was such a great setup for this movie to where I was so excited to see how they were going to cap it off. But where it just disappointed me was the story. This movie basically doesn't have any story. But if you are like most other people with this series, and if you only come for the action and the stunts, this movie definitely delivers because the action in this movie is awesome and the stunts I don't know how Tom Cruise isn't dead after making this movie. Like, there's literally one part that made me, like, clinch up in my seat. That made me so unnerved and creeped out and scared for my life was this underwater sequence where he's, like, in the submarine trying to get something about the evil AI villain that we get in this movie, which I still think is fucking stupid, which is relevant to today, but it's still stupid. Like, like, you watch that whole sequence, and like, you might think to yourself, like, "Oh, this is, like, shot on a green screen underwater." Nope, that is fucking real, and it's terrifying. Like, I was literally like, living there like, "Fuck?" And then there's obviously the part that's advertised all over the place with this movie is the plane sequence, which, again, I don't know how Tom Cruise isn't fucking dead, which where my excitement level was after Dead Reckoning, which that part one bullshit is all out of the way, I guess. This where my excitement was after Dead Reckoning and just hoping what this movie was going to do. I was just a little bit disappointed. It's not like one of the biggest disappointments of all time or anything like that. It's just what Dead Reckoning just made it seem like it was going to be, which I would have loved to see what this movie would have looked like if the actor and writer strike did not happen at the time. Because, like, this movie was supposed to come out last year, and I believe in May of last year, actually. Like, I would have liked to see. I wonder if it was going to be the same movie as it is today, and like maybe it would have been different if that writer strike never happened. Who knows? But if this is the final Mission Impossible movie, which I do have my doubts because I do feel like Tom Cruise will come out and be like, "Let's do another one," or Paramount will be like, "Oh, this franchise is a huge success. Let's do another one." Like, I have my doubts that this is going to be the last one, but if this is the final Mission Impossible movie, then I truly think that it's a pretty satisfying conclusion. But coming in at my number one, which again, none of these movies were really great. If you ask me, this is just the one that I enjoyed the most. But coming in at number one is going to be Thunderbolts or New Avengers, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to call it Thunderbolts because that was the movie that they originally advertised it as, and then they changed the name last minute. It's Thunderbolts to me, you fucks. But to me, I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. Do I think it's a little bit overrated? Oh, yeah, for sure. This is definitely not one of the best MCU movies that we have gotten in the last decade. I honestly feel people are only saying that is because of this whole thing where we haven't really gotten any Marvel movies lately. Like we haven't really gotten a lot of good Marvel movies, so that's why I think that a lot of people have been praising this movie because this is like the first good one we've gotten in a long time. Which we got Deadpool and Wolverine last year, which I still think is one of the best ones. So yeah, I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I really enjoyed what this movie is, and I'm really excited to see what this movie is going to set up. Which I guess spoilers, but this movie's been out for like a month now and is about to be released on digital, and the title basically gave it away. But what the post credits gave away with them being the new Avengers and seeing that the Fantastic Four is going to be coming into their Earth. Like, I'm excited to see what Fantastic Four is going to do. Like, I'm assuming that movie is going to answer the questions of that post-credit scene. So, why I enjoyed this movie is just a lot of fun. Like, I really enjoyed the team's dynamics, and I really enjoyed the theme of, like, grief and depression, which I've kind of talked about this already when I talked about this movie earlier this year, is that I can kind of relate to that because there was a stage in my life last year that I went through that kind of stage of depression and stuff like that. So, I had those moments where, like, this movie, like, I felt like I could connect to it, to where I understood what they were talking about. But yeah, I really enjoyed Thunderbolts. I'm really excited to see what it's going to set up for the future of the MCU. And I just really enjoyed this movie. It was a fun movie. It was a fun MCU movie. Not the best that we've gotten in years or anything like that, but I do think it is one of the better ones that we've gotten. Thank you all for watching my ranking of all 5 movies that I watched during the month of May of 2025. Let me know what movies you watched during the month of May, and let me know your ranking of all of them. I know this video is late, but hey, better late than never. But if you like this video, like it. If you love to subscribe with the bell notifications so you will get notified for all my latest videos and all my upcoming videos that you will be getting here very soon. Thank you all so much for watching, and as always, see you all next time.